There's a truth most men never hear, and it explains why intimacy often feels very different for women than it does for them. Many men believe that effort alone is enough. They show up with desire, confidence, and physical energy. But behind closed doors, countless women admit something quietly. They don't always feel fully connected. Not because their partner lacks passion, but because he was never shown how her body actually responds. The problem isn't intention, it's misinformation. For years, men have been handed a distorted blueprint. Intimacy has been framed as performance. Faster means better. Deeper means stronger. Endurance equals success. But female arousal does not operate like a competitive sport. It is not mechanical. It is a gradual, physiological, and neurological process that unfolds through blood flow, nerve stimulation, and emotional safety. When those elements align, connection deepens. When they are rushed or misunderstood, something subtle but important is lost. One of the most overlooked realities is that the deepest areas are not the most sensitive. Many assume intensity comes from depth alone, yet the highest concentration of responsive nerve endings exists closer to the entrance and within the complex internal clitoral network. That network is not a small surface point. It extends internally, surrounding the vaginal canal, with nerve-rich tissue designed to respond to rhythm, friction, and pressure. When this is understood, the focus shifts from force to connection, from speed to awareness. How intimacy begins sets the tone for everything that follows. The first moments are not simply physical entry. They are moments of nervous system calibration. Her body is assessing comfort, warmth, and safety. Moving slowly allows her muscles to relax and her nervous system to synchronize with yours. Blood flow increases naturally. Sensitivity heightens. Rushing interrupts that buildup, reducing pleasure before it has time to grow. Slow, shallow movement early on stimulates the most responsive areas and sends a powerful signal to the brain that the experience feels safe and enjoyable. It builds trust, and trust allows surrender. As her body begins to respond, anticipation becomes essential. When stimulation remains constant, the brain adapts. Sensory adaptation dulls repetitive input, lowering intensity over time. But subtle variation reignites sensitivity. Slowing briefly as pleasure builds, adjusting depth slightly, or pausing before returning to rhythm resets that neurological response. Anticipation rises. Dopamine increases. The experience becomes dynamic rather than predictable. Instead of a straight line toward climax, pleasure moves in waves. Variety sustains engagement. Repetition creates familiarity, but too much familiarity dulls sensation. Altering tempo, shifting angle, transitioning between shallow and deeper movement, or holding still momentarily activates different sensory pathways. Each variation engages another part of her pleasure map. The body responds not to routine, but to exploration. When movement feels responsive rather than automatic, connection strengthens. Another powerful yet often ignored element is sustained contact and pressure. Popular imagery emphasizes constant motion, yet many women respond more intensely to closeness and rhythmic grinding than to repetitive thrusting. Small, circular, or rocking motions stimulate both internal and external structures simultaneously. This creates a sense of shared movement rather than isolated action. It feels mutual. It allows her to participate and guide the rhythm. Many describe this as the difference between being acted upon and being included. Yet even the most refined technique falls flat without presence. Attention transforms everything. True attention means noticing breath patterns, subtle shifts in muscle tension, micro-expressions, and changes in energy. Every body communicates in real time. When a man shifts focus from self-evaluation to observation, he becomes intuitive. Guesswork disappears. Responsiveness increases. Emotional safety deepens. And emotional safety is directly linked to physical openness. This connection extends beyond the moment itself. Physical health plays a direct role in performance and endurance. Circulation is fundamental. Erections rely entirely on healthy blood vessels, capable of expanding and delivering adequate blood flow. As vessels stiffen due to inflammation, poor diet, or sedentary habits, firmness declines. This is not a failure of desire, but of circulation. Fortunately, circulation can improve. Nutrition rich in leafy greens, beets, citrus fruits, and healthy fats supports nitric oxide production, which relaxes blood vessels. Regular movement, even brisk walking for 20 to 30 minutes daily, enhances blood flow and reduces inflammation. Strength training supports hormonal balance and testosterone production. Energy is equally important. Cellular energy production depends on healthy mitochondria, which thrive on oxygen, movement, and nutrient-dense foods. When lifestyle habits are poor, fatigue increases and stamina decreases. Adequate hydration, balanced nutrition, and consistent exercise restore steady energy levels that allow presence rather than exhaustion. Hormonal health also shapes confidence and libido. Testosterone influences mood, muscle tone, and sexual drive. While it naturally declines with age, adequate sleep, resistance training, and proper micronutrient intake help maintain healthier levels. Deep sleep is especially critical, as most testosterone production occurs during restorative phases. Chronic sleep disruption weakens both hormonal balance and overall vitality. Ultimately, the most powerful shift is mental. Intimacy is not a test of skill or duration. It is a shared experience built on rhythm, attention, and care. When performance anxiety fades and curiosity replaces pressure, connection strengthens. Women rarely remember exact movements or timing. They remember how they felt. They remember whether they felt safe enough to relax, valued enough to open, and desired enough to trust. So the path forward is clear. Begin slowly. Allow her body to respond. Introduce variation thoughtfully. Maintain close contact. Pay attention to every cue. Support your body through daily movement, nourishing food, and restorative sleep. And above all, approach intimacy not as something to conquer, but as something to share. When a woman feels genuinely seen and cherished, that memory lingers. That emotional imprint builds desire. And that is what transforms intimacy from routine into something deeply meaningful and lasting.